All right.
Yay.
And we have begun.
That's fine. Hey, everyone. We're here on a really interesting version of the Edwin Paul podcast. How many people have died in America thus far?
I think it's over 3,000.
Over 3,000. We just got our first 3 infections here yesterday.
Let me just find the.
Over 3,000 died globally, not in America.
Oh, you're a little quiet, Edwin. Is he coming through well?
Not very well. What were you saying, Mihai?
I was saying that I think about 3,000 people died globally, not just in America. Oh, wow. Jesus. We're up to 8,000 deaths globally now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We're gonna break
Whoa.
200,000 today for cases. Did I say 3,000 deaths? I meant cases in the U.S. Yeah, we're only at like
3,000 cases.
confirmed deaths. I think because we're not testing the dead.
We are not testing the dead, from what I understand.
Oh, here we go. I had Edwin pinned. Okay, good. So now everyone will be visible. Good. All right.
Man, that is crazy.
Make sure it's sharing.
And the numbers in Africa are going to be so high if the R is like similar to what it is. It's not just Africa, but other, India, Pakistan, places like that.
Good. It's sharing sound. Okay. Yeah. This is a nightmare. It's like a giant global.
It's fucking.
Yeah. Yep.
Whew.
Yeah.
I can start pulling up some of the videos that I had queued up here. Or we can talk about ventilators. What do you guys want to talk about?
Well, the ventilators would be really helpful if we could actually get like relevant information, but I'm not sure the extent to which you could post the one, like the link to the one that I was talking about. Right?
Well, yeah, so it's on a GitHub. JCL5M1 is there. JCL5M1. Johnny Lee, it looks like, and it looks like he's got a low-cost open-source ventilator. Converting low-cost CPAP computers positive air pressure blower into rudimentary ventilator. So, okay, so Mihai, do you know much about CPAP machines?
No, but basically CPAP machines work between an oxygen concentrator and a ventilator. They're going to help you actually breathe. So they sort of like push a little bit of air in, but they're not quite as hardcore as ventilators. They cost around
your audio is
$1,500 each.
Still.
They cost around what?
$1,500 each.
The CPAP machines?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, oxygen concentrators cost around $1,500. Ventilators cost around $10,000. And then beyond that, there's the OECM machine thing. And I forgot what it's called. It's the oxygen membrane thing that actually breathes for you and then is able to oxygenate blood. So it'll take your blood out of your body and actually oxygenate the blood itself, right?
So this is if your lungs, this is an artificial lung, basically?
It's literally an artificial lung. It's used in surgery, and basically you put somebody under, like fully under, right, where they're dead for all practical purposes, and you can run their heart through a pump, and then you sort of oxygenate their blood using that. So that's like the most hardcore thing that is available in the medical system, and there's very, very few of those machines. There's very, very, very few of those machines. So in terms of what's most helpful from a hackathon perspective, that's why the ventilator machines are being worked on the heaviest, because they're absolutely critical. In case of severe complications, you need one to survive.
Yeah.
And they are mechanical. So that means that
pumps and levers and valves and things, right?
That's right. And so as a result, one of the first things that was worked on was components, because there were several in Italy that were broken. And so we needed to understand, and by we I mean the group of hackers kind of working on this, what what the components were that were broken, and then how to redesign them and that happened very well over the last week. They're very hard at work.
Sorry.
But I think it's one of the most encouraging efforts that has come out of this crisis thus far.
And they're designing ventilators, or this is not the repair pieces?
It is to repair the pieces. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So they're designing the ventilator component by component, focusing on components that were broken for existing ventilators.
Okay. And ventilators, again, are the down the throat tube thing, or are they? Yeah. Okay.
They're the down the throat tube thing, and basically they will press up and down by pushing air up and down. They'll sort of artificially kick your lungs into functioning.
Gotcha.
And so they're more of an artificial diaphragm than an artificial lung.
Okay. Yep. That makes more sense.
That's when you don't have enough strength to breathe, but you still have lungs. So it will be pumping in concentrated oxygen to the lung capacity that you do have. However, it will be pumping it in as opposed to just merely allowing you to breathe it in as an oxygen concentrator would. So the oxygen concentrator, still has tubes up to your nose, but you're using your lungs and diaphragm to suck in the oxygen and breathe it out. In the case of a ventilator, it is itself pushing the air in and pulling it back out.
And in the case of, remember the old-timey iron lungs, right? They had so from like the polio days
would be kind of a
ventilator.
Ventilator, I understand.
They'd be like a ventilator, but they're working from the outside, right? They got your neck sealed, and then the outside air, and then they have a pump around your whole body. There's like a chamber, right? Yeah, that was like the way they would do it. Yeah. That if we had a system like that where it reduces the pressure outside you and works literally like a diaphragm, I mean, I know we stopped. This is just a wild idea. I know we stopped using those because ventilators are better in many ways, but arguably, I mean, if it's cheaper or quicker to make it just a big chamber and you just seal around the neck.
They're not cheaper or quicker to make. You have to remember that things that were made in the 40s and 50s were usually made with iron, with steel, with these very heavy components that have to be machined. And there's just not that machinery isn't common anymore. I mean, certainly not adjusted for the population growth. And I don't think the know-how is very much there either. The most
not to ramp it up in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so the most optimistic one can be is really around this idea of creating open source medical hardware, because that brings down the cost and that enables localized manufacturing. Additive manufacturing works because despite it being slow relatively to injection molding or something like that, it's very flexible. And so what we're trying to do kind of like as a species right now is to allocate resources to construct more of these things, but particularly in region by region by region by region, right? All the borders are shutting down, economies are shutting down, exports are shutting down. There's still a ton of plastic, and there's still a lot of 3D printers. So those are sort of available standardized manufacturing procedures that can be utilized and leveraged everywhere from Liberia to New Zealand to Italy to the United States.
And I know at least 2 family members have gotten a hold of oxygen concentrators. Those I know you can have a ventilator plus an oxygen concentrator that's adding oxygen and pumping your lungs. But
yes, I mean,
in terms of building devices, what is the demand? Like how big a percentage of people need the full ventilator? How many people would benefit from an oxygen concentrator?
Right.
Yeah, everyone would benefit from an oxygen concentrator, it seems. So Korea has done the biggest push for oxygen therapy of any country in the world. They also have the lowest death rate by far. Perhaps outside of Vietnam or Thailand, there's a couple countries that just were like, oh, is this a thing? Nope, it isn't. Goodbye.
So does
not entirely clear how. Sorry, you're saying Edwin?
How they've done so well, those countries? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Edwin.
Does one oxygen concentration machine only take one person, or do you need? Okay.
Yeah.
You can have two oxygen concentrator machines per person, as well as you can have 2 people per oxygen concentrator machine. The variables are the percentage purity of oxygen and the volume of air that it can push. So it'll go from 3 liters to 5 liters to 10 liters. The biggest one's around 10 liters, and that's pretty much your whole breath. You have about like 10-15 liters of air in there. If you're having a lung issue, you're almost by definition not getting your full breath in. So you don't really need them to go up to 15 liters, because there's basically no healthy people that will benefit from breathing 70% oxygen. In fact, that might very well harm you, especially if you do it for a bunch. However, if your lung capacity is decreased, let's say that only your left lung works, the oxygen in the atmosphere is 21%. So let's say you bump that up to about like 50%. Right now, I'm getting the full amount of oxygen for both lungs, right? Plus maybe a little bit more, but that energy that is provided by oxygen is critical to feed your white blood cells in your lungs, right? So
that's where the infection is happening. It's
exactly because it's a viral infection it's a what do you call it? It's an autoimmune, it's an immune cell targeting infection. So it'll target your white blood cells in your lungs, and then as a result, you're going to end up getting a whole bunch of bacterial infections there, right? So theoretically, if you were to have a clean room, right, and just exist in a clean room, you could get this virus and be sort of fine, because you wouldn't get the bacterial infections that cause the acute pneumonia that then causes the acute respiratory syndrome that we see. Like it's these very, very strong pneumonias that come on at once.
I agree with that, except I would add, it would be, even if you put a person in a clean room, there's bacteria on your body that are naturally not fighting you, but then they potentially would turn into something if you got weakened. So you'd still have to.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of a very severe infection of the immune disorder, of the immune system, I mean, that would be absolutely true. It would take a lot for it to get all the way there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's absolutely correct. And the other thing is that, so oxygen provides you with energy, and in terms of how these machines are built, to answer Edwin's question, so you can have a 10-liter machine that you can hook up to 2 people that will be getting, say, 5 liters at 80% or whatever each. Right? Let's say you have only 2 smaller machines, like 5-liter machines, and you need a whole 10 liters. You can actually hook them up together and have a cannula in each nostril. Like there's ways to kind of do it either on using one machine for multiple folks, or having multiple machines all feeding into the same place.
Yeah, there's a video that I put in the that discussion group for that's about reusing a ventilator, or using a ventilator for up to 4 people at once, and that's an actual ventilator, like a pumping ventilator. So I guess it would be 4 people who are experiencing a problem with their lungs, but they're maybe healthy enough that, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the situation where you have a stronger ventilator than you need, maybe.
I mean, I don't know much about how ventilators work, to be perfectly honest. I think the source today would be that hackathon. I think there's a couple of video resources that are out there. Certainly, Singularity University is doing a conference today that is quite fantastic, and I recommend going.
I can pull that
up online. So that was started yesterday. It'll be today and tomorrow, and it's going to cover quite a lot of materials, from ventilators to what we can do in terms of public health, to what we should do for policy recommendation. This is an excellent time to lobby. I think we saw reimbursement from the private medical system in the US finally covering telemedicine after years and years of lobbying on the issue. So that's absolutely tremendous. I think there's a lot of advances, like fuck you guys and your IP. Let's
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Let's build these components ourselves. And
This
it's
is
like,
so
what are you gonna
not
do?
the
Sue
time
us?
for
Go
that.
fuck yourself.
Sue me.
Right. No, exactly. Right. So I think there's a couple of results from a policy perspective that that are certainly something to be optimistic about. Yeah, not a lot to be optimistic about though.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear every little thing that you could be optimistic about, but in these troubling times. So I've got the COVID-19, the state and future of pandemics hosted by Singularity University pulled up here. It looks like it's already started, right? It was yesterday.
It has. It started yesterday.
Join us for
And
multiple days
right
of
now.
live
We'll
stream
be...
content. All right, so before we, oh, we got a new message from, hey, do you want ideas for a next step with Singularity? Okay. I figured let's just get this out of the way. This is a video. I just wanted to show anyone watching this how serious this gets and how quickly. So this is from inside a hospital. I'll turn down the audio. That's not really. Is this still pretty loud for you?
No, this is great. I can't hear it at all, so it's not very loud.
Well, it's sort of a surreal beeping.
The hospital in Italy. Oh.
And it looks like it's like late at night, and oh, there's more.
Yep.
Now, what is the thing on their head like that?
Those are just another kind of respirator, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, you see this person here all in white with the mask and the glasses, etc., and you would think that they're being super protected. They're absolutely not. About 20% of the healthcare workers in Lombardy are dead or dying.
What?
Over the last 2 weeks.
My dad told me about it because he's a GP. He's gonna have to go to the hospital and help with this.
That's right. And so protective equipment is incredibly insufficient. And so that means that if you have a heart attack, if you have a, you're going to get your heart surgery by a fucking podiatrist soon. Like there's just not going to be anyone left to take care of you.
8% of the total cases in Italy are healthcare workers.
I imagine
24,000. It says 8% of the total in Italy. That's out of 24,000. So that's what? That's like 2,000 healthcare workers, or it's 1,700 on this one because they're going by.
Yeah, it's like 1,900. Yeah,
17,000.
And the problem is that healthcare workers get infected multiple times. So there's multiple strains of the virus. That means that you can get infected multiple times at once. Additionally, every single time that you get any type of complication from this, particularly the fibrosis, you're going to have permanent lung damage. That means that the fatality rate of the second infection, even if they are spread out over a longer period of time, is going to be higher, and true for every subsequent
weakened lungs.
Your chance of your weakened lungs, your weakened immune system, weakened lung capacity, permanently weakened lung capacity, by the way. So none of this is none of these kind of scary white outfits that you're seeing are actually sufficient. The only ones that would be really sufficient are the over the face masks that you will see the US military have in movies, the ones that may come with these kind of scary things. They're generally going to be like a total piece of glass and then one little respirator mouthpiece there.
Yeah.
Those can protect you from sarin gas and stuff like that. Those would be sufficient. And then there's the really crazy ones that you'll see in movies like Contagion, where it's a full white suit with a hat on, and then that actually goes all the way at the back, where there is a HEPA filter. In a HEPA filter, or HEPA filter, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think
correctly, honestly.
Yeah.
But the HEPA filter filters like 99.8% of all particles. It's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Those things cost around $3,500. So you can imagine there's not a lot of them in Italy. I don't think there's a lot of them in the US. There's just, enough
so for whatever
it'd be
demand.
Very interesting to see what happens in country by country with the creation of protective pieces of equipment. I'm working on one now, but it's not going to be ready for medical care for months. And months is a very long time right now.
Yep. I'm curious to see what you think of China's sort of propagandizing their recovery and whether that's accurate. Is it just that China is completely shut down? I'm going to show this video and then we can kind of talk about it.
Sure.
But I'm wondering if they're completely shut down or if they are faking it. One of their Wuhan hospitals.
Wow.
This is so surreal.
Wow.
Oh. So, what is your take on what's going on in China?
Yeah, so I don't know what that means.
What did you think
that they've closed down all of the Wuhan hospitals?
What do you think about the British approach?
Oh, and God, they're just insane. I know how to, but go ahead. Yeah, Mihai.
Well, they're concerned that basically China is not out of the woods, even though it seems like it. That they're,
Oh, that's probably true. But you mean
that's probably true, but that's still
thing, right?
Well, the herd immunity depends on the hypothesis that like the reason to do the herd immunity approach is because what China and a lot of the other Asian countries are doing is not sustainable. You can't just remain locked down indefinitely. So the idea is, go ahead.
We could remain locked down until we have a vaccine. That would be what we need to do. That might be a year and a half, but we could do it.
A year and a half.
So that would be at least 18 months, and that's what the NHS said, that they're expecting the lockdown to last for about 18 months. That sounds realistic. That actually sounds realistic. Like, yes, you're not. Life is not going to go back to normal anytime soon. Like, unless
what does
everyone
lockdown mean,
though? I mean, it means non-essential businesses, and they'll have to decide what those are.
Yep, that definitely means no Broadway, no movie theaters. The entertainment industry has been hit enormously hard. I've been talking to a lot of musicians from West Hollywood that are some of which are pretty famous, and all of their shows are canceled. All of them. There isn't anyone that's like, all the little musicians that are playing in bars, all the bigger guys that are playing in stadiums. Everyone in entertainment is saying, what the hell do we do? I mean, the Netflix guys are doing well, obviously, but that's not going to be a feature of the industry that's going to come back anytime soon.
Did you see that there was a bar that Kid Rock had that he wasn't closing it? He refused to close it.
No, of course there was.
That's so ridiculous.
I mean, even in New Zealand, they had a fucking techno festival last week for 3,000 people, and it's like, you guys know that this is like, you're seeing what's happening. Like there's 1,000 people dead in Italy, and you're like, yeah, but like before it gets here, it's like how the. I literally went to the other side of the world to be, and there's 8 cases, and they're like, woo. Like everything is closing down here too, but it seems kind of stupid that folks are taking these measures like one after another. Like the second Italy closed down, everybody should have done the same to the same extent at the same time.
I feel like a lot of
that's how you fucking avoid this.
Just don't think Italy's real.
All these politicians are like, well, what if it's not a big deal? And it's like, then like, well, we'll wait until there's more cases so that it's justified. It's like, you do understand how exponential growths work. Like, nope, okay, cool. Does literally no government in the entire world understand how exponential curves work?
No.
Like, Korea. Okay, good. Turns out Asian countries are good at math, and that's about the only thing you can say about this. Like they are.
Look at this.
They were like, hey, let's actually take care of our people and shit, and like, assume that the meteorite that is heading over that we can see is a meteorite that is heading over that we can see. Everyone else is like, nah, brah, it's like fine. We're just gonna, chill and like it's fine. Like, the craziest thing was watching Stephen Colbert, who was like, look, John Hopkins said like 40% of the U.S. population is going to get it, maybe 60%, but that's fine. It's not like millions of Americans are going to die. It's only a 2% death rate. It's like
that's a million plus. That's
370 over 2. Okay.
Yeah. What do you think of the U.S. response?
What U.S. response?
That's the first response. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Other than making memes, I think the only thing that the U.S. is doing right is screaming at each other. They're really, really good at that. And I think what I honestly think is going to come out of the U.S. is a strong and decentralized approach. That's going to probably be the global approach. There's this great quote by Winston Churchill: America does the right thing after it has tried everything else. And that's I mean, there is no CEO in the entirety of the fucking country that believes that they're not smarter than fucking Donald Trump. Like nobody is like, oh yes, Donald John Trump will lead us with dictatorial powers out of this. Like,
yes.
Zero people. I mean, zero credible people. Like, it's a goddamn plutocracy. Everybody knows America is a plutocracy, and all the plutocrats are like, I got this jet to take all the way over to, somewhere else. Like, literally. So who the fuck is left? You know what I mean? Like, all the leadership is really doing nothing thus far. It's great to watch the Alex Joneses and the conspiracy theorists of the world being like, bruh, they're going to implement martial law. It's like, yes, they should. Like, yes. And you can see that for once, they're being a little bit conflicted. It's like, but maybe it is a good idea. Like, we've been warning you about this for 25 years, but maybe we need martial law now. Like,
Alex Jones. When Alex Jones.
But seriously, like, how are you going to keep people inside big cities? And basically, right as we were leaving San Francisco, we just, we saw this bomb go off, which is the fucking Diamond Princess cruise ship docked in Oakland. And they're finally letting people out. That's 3,200 people, of which at least half are infected. And they're just going to be like, And this is the side of U.S. politics that I think is just honestly and truthfully mean and mean-spirited. Because I have very little doubt that Trump sent those original planes from China to San Francisco because he hates Nancy Pelosi, or is releasing that boat in San Francisco because he hates Nancy. There's tons of small-ass towns. There's tons of places you could just build a military hospital and take them in one time. No. That would be reasonable. Who the fuck is reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, right near where I was born.
Yep.
Shitty part of California.
From Auckland to Auckland. It's a much better Auckland here.
Auckland, yeah.
Way fewer homeless people, I gotta say.
Speaking of New Zealand, I know I've mentioned this to you before, but fucking Bezos fled to New Zealand on February 20th.
Bezos is out here. There's this whole island. We heard it from a local, and I'm not going to mention which one it is, because I haven't completely confirmed it yet. But there's definitely a billionaire island in New Zealand.
Let's hope it's not like Epstein's.
I mean, no. This is just the billionaires. There's no. I think there's no one else, and I think that's kind of the point. Because I think they would be like if you had Epstein's Island, there would definitely be some 12-year-old that would cough all the billionaires to death, and that would be awesome. Like this is really,
this is literally, Edwin. Are you seeing this?
I mean, wouldn't you do that if you had $1 billion?
No, totally.
I don't have $1 billion and I'm doing that.
I feel like I would fly there and then immediately tell everyone. Like you'd still, I don't know, February 20th. It's not like I was hearing anything from Jeff Bezos explaining why. It's just like he flew away and then the market just started to go February 21st. Well, I assume means that people at the tippy top who are making the big market decisions like Jeff Bezos, they saw him fly away. Some of them also flew away. And at least the ones that were left over were kind of looking around like, oh shit, something's going down. Yeah. And then it just collapsed.
You're right. It's, to some extent, I think it's also just any billionaire in the world has information, like has people who do their information. Like that's I'm not going to say any billionaire because I'm sure there's people who only care about having fun or whatever, and they're just born with their money and they don't really give a shit. But anybody that they've had the privilege to meet who has that much money has a ton of information, and it's even if they weren't talking to each other, they would have known it by themselves because I fucking knew this. Right, like I'm not a billionaire. I've been keeping tabs on this thing pretty clearly since the beginning, and I think you just need somebody like me who's nerdy enough to really look at the data and have that in your entourage. And I think every one of these people, from Elon to Peter Thiel to Bezos, have that.
They're also insured.
And we saw it coming.
Right? They're insured. The board of directors of a big company where he's still the CEO, they would insure him, like they would insure the company against his death, right?
Yes, it's called key person insurance.
And when you have that, the insurance company itself will, much like you might audit a car or something to check to see if it works right before you insure it for a bunch of money, because like if the brakes are broken or something. So they might check a person and their regularly check up on them, and also have like people doing actuary tables on like, okay, what's this high risk, low probability thing that's going on? So I figure something like that was probably implemented.
I mean, that's going to be a part of it. Like I definitely think, you're not wrong. Like having a yearly physical as a key person in a company, is a part of your insurance procedures as well. You're going to share that the result of those physical exams with your insurance company, and they're going to do actuarial tables, looking at your weight, whether you smoke, just all sorts of stuff like that.
And the same interests there might have someone, regardless of how much medical data they're getting from you, who's just doing tables on like what are the odds that there's a plague would be one of the things that they would be well, the chance of that, then we'd have to pay out.
The first alarm that I heard that this was going to be as bad as it is came in late December.
Whoa.
And I distinctly remember saying, hey, this is a panic post. I was wrong. I mean, it was a panic post, but it was this was the time to panic. That is a reasonable thing. It's just like, hey, y'all better freak out now. And she is one of my friends who, goes to the World Economic Forum every year. She does know a bunch of billionaires. So it's not a question of like some big evil conspiracy of like, let's fuck over the world. There's just it's human beings that like to be alive, that, enjoy having information that don't presumably allows them to be alive longer. Yeah. And like, I mean, definitely there's a lot of like, jonesing for power, right? But like at this point, it's not like Brock Pierce and fucking Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and like, just Michael Bloomberg are all vying at each other for like how to remake the financial industry in this, after a pandemic. They're all just like, do I have a bunker? Yes. Okay. I can work from my bunker. Like, I'm sure Bezos is still working. He's just sending orders from a bunker in the mountain, which is if you think about it, really kind of like James Bondish. Like there's a bald dude worth $100 billion, like in a fucking actual mountain lair. Like that's an actual thing. And the only thing that Daniel Craig would do if he came here to confront him would be to ask for fucking shelter. Like that's the world we'd live in. James Bond would be like, "Brah, let me make you do your dishes as long as I can fucking wait out the apocalypse here."
Yeah.
There's no one coming to save us, bro.
Oh my God, we're fucked. Oh, did you hear about this? Jared Leto went out to the desert for 12 days and he came back in the midst of the coronavirus. He's about to do that.
I went to the desert and I prayed to fix Social Security. Not like this, God! Not like this!
Holy shit.
Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah, this is
Can we just like postpone the Democratic debates till after this, or the Democratic primary till after this, and then Bernie Sanders, if he's still alive, will have a much better shot of winning?
No, because they're giving him no fucking media attention. Like it's ridiculous. Everyone has just kind of decided to run with the narrative of Biden has already won. Human beings are dumb as fuck. I did this research in 2008, looking at what were the predictors of electoral outcomes based on media coverage. And so we looked at like positive, negative statements, neutral statements. Like we broke down all of these, elections into hundreds of thousands, literally like 76,000 statements a week on everything that was covered, like economics, healthcare, all this stuff. You know what was the biggest predictor? Volume of coverage, not tone. Just fucking volume. If the volume is the same, then the tone makes a difference, right? And both candidates are getting kind of the same coverage, and it's like, okay, what's up? But no, like Tony Blair had the worst coverage, for example, in his re-election bid a while ago after like the Iraq War. But everyone, the entirety of the media was just devoted to complaining about how Tony Blair was a shit person, and literally none of his opponents got any airtime, which means they got no votes because nobody knew who the fuck they were. He went out with like 70% of the vote. I fear the same thing's going to happen to Trump. Zero people are talking about anything other than Trump. Like, Biden is a jar of mayonnaise with aviator sunglasses, and somehow everyone's obsessed with it. It's like, look, most best mayonnaise, because the Democrats just really like losing federal elections. It's like really their thing now. It just, it gets them moist. It's important to lose. It's like, but like, there's an actual passion behind Bernie Sanders, but no one wants to fucking socialize medical care in the U.S. It's $1 trillion a year industry. Like, what do you think is the lobbying power of people who make $1 trillion a year combined, right? Like, that's a lot of people being like, I really like selling Tylenol pills $30 each. This is
It's so dark.
I have this short combination of two clips that show kind of Wuhan right at the start of the outbreak, or well, I guess when it was ramping up. So I'm gonna throw those in here. All right. So this one, it's got some documentary music to it.
I had to stop.
So obviously the whole world was watching very closely through January as this epidemic unfolded, and people were very concerned. A lot of experts were concerned and felt that the public health emergency of international concern should have been declared earlier. I think.
So this is in, okay.
这是谁给的？
楼上的奶奶给的。
This feels like propaganda.
哪个纸条？对面5楼的师傅您好，不知道姓什么，谢谢您给我的萝卜。非常时期大家都平安。我们。
Sorry, what?
Isn't that the guy who got disappeared?
Oh shit! Is it? I got this video a little while ago. Yikes!
Yeah. No, a little while ago he had not disappeared yet. I was watching him early on. It was just like, oh, I'm going to explain how the Chinese government is fucking this up. Oh, I'm going to not be here anymore.
Yeah. It's pretty creepy when that guy, the surgeon, was screaming. Like, it wasn't just that he had to deal with all these bodies and this overworked and all the insanity, but also the person was like, don't make trouble. You're making trouble for the government.
Yeah.
So you now have this state.
Imagine.
You're getting, oh, fuck.
Just everywhere.
God, that's a nightmare. Anyway.
I don't even know what to say in this podcast. So I realized
I'm just
like,
asking,
continually
I'm
at a loss
Mihai for information.
Yeah. Dude, like, okay, so obviously the best thing people in my situation in a country like Liberia, where we just got it and we're, you know, like 4 to 7 weeks, let's say, from a lot of people dying, is the oxygen therapy thing. Like that's the most it seems like we can do to mitigate. Do you know, if we could streamline this? I was thinking perhaps like if I could get any kind of get just regulatory approval, we could do I don't know what they're doing with the World Health Organization, but potentially do like a Kickstarter to raise money to at least like increase the amount of those machines that we have. So like who would I work with for something like that? Or is that
who do you buy them from? Everyone is hoarding them everywhere. Everyone has smelled the same bacon. I was calling the oxygen concentrator supply store last week. The shit sounded like it was fucking Wall Street, man.
No, I'm talking about Alibaba.
Yeah,
they have them, but
there's a good couple on there, but they're gonna run out. Like there's not that many. They're not that easy to build. China's productions have been down.
You said, do you mind talking on this podcast about you had contacted some warehouses?
Quite a few. And so the average quantity of oxygen concentrators per warehouse in the US is between 20 and 30. Now that's assuming that it's, you know, they're getting regular shipments. As of last week, all of them were empty.
Yeah.
All of them. Like I was very early in on this train, calling people, you know, in what do you call it? Calling people in oxygen concentrator repair places and supply places about, let's see, this would have been mid to late February. So that's like 3-4 weeks ago. And at first people were like, interesting, why are you calling? I'm like, I want to buy one. Like I want to buy one used. Like I want to understand how much it is. Like I want to understand, you know, what's happening to your component supply. Like you repair these things. How many components do you have? Like, is that getting disrupted from China? And as of 3 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, they already were like, oh, our warehouse of components is entirely gone. The factory making them in China is shut down. Philips makes their shit, like most people make their shit in China, like just in general. Like, so there might be some assembly or polishing that goes on in the US or wherever, so you can say like made in America, right? But the fucking components, they're not going to injection mold them in Texas. That's not how this works. So once those factories got shut down, you know, you got a couple weeks, right? At most, of just until the supply just runs out. And that's exactly what happened. When Italy went on the news around the world, finally being like, hey, you know, they're running out of ventilators and oxygen concentrators. Private citizens can also buy ventilators. You know, like, I mean, you gotta
hospital ventilator.
You gotta be B2B. No. You know, these things are prescription only, obviously, right? And like, you gotta kind of be a hospital, but like, they're, you know, if you kind of peer behind the curtain in America, you can think the prices. You can buy them, right? Like you can be a business, and once you're a business, you know, you kind of have unlimited rights. Like you can just use your W-9 forms to, like, you know, run it through that way. So that's how I bought my oxygen concentrators, and I bought hospital grade ones. Like these are not the ones that you like strap to your side because you have COPD and you're old, and like, you know, there's flowers and the sky is blue and you know, grandchildren happy and the commercials. Like, no, I bought the fuck off ones that stay on the ground, that get your shit up to 90% and that are used in hospitals. And I sent one to my parents and one to my wife's parents in France. And we're going to bring one here in New Zealand and maybe donate it to the healthcare system. Just in exchange for like, hey, you guys make sure we don't die if some shit happens.
Yeah.
Here's 6 kiwi limes as payment.
My
pound of flesh, bro. But yeah, like this, I don't think you're going to find a lot of success there, Edwin. I think what you need to do is not to kickstart this shit. I think you need to talk to high net worth individuals who enjoy breathing and, you know, like work through that to get whatever's left now and whatever can be gotten. There's the more the lighter ones, like 20%, like 40% to 50% oxygen, 3 liter, 5 liters. Those are the ones you're going to find in Alibaba. They're great. They're really, really great for oxygen therapy as a prevention mechanism. They're absolutely fantastic. So I think, one way to do it is to set up a business, right? You have an oxygen bar. That's been a thing for a while. So you just buy those machines and you pay yourself back by, just having people use them for $5 a pop.
Yeah.
Right. Like that.
Yeah.
That's how you do that.
But they would use them. Obviously,
run around asking people for money to help you. Ain't no one got money to help anyone else right now.
Yeah.
That's
true.
It's just so crazy how quickly like people have kind of turned on each other in certain contexts, like the toilet paper stuff, and
oh yeah,
we're seeing the worst of us.
I thought people were just buying that to share. Doesn't everyone like to share in a capitalist society? Isn't that what? So you can share the most? That's why you just get all the stuff.
You can always reuse toilet paper, so.
And if not, Rupert Murdoch makes some really great toilet paper brands, from the New York Post to.
That's true. I don't know why that would be something getting hoarded, given that there's so much available.
Yeah, no one's hoarding the Washington Times.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about chloroquine.
I do not know enough about that. I've read a couple of clear research papers on this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. My understanding from experts is that chloroquine is materially helpful. Mm-hmm. The most helpful drug thus far has been Remdesivir, that's produced by Gilead, which is a Chinese pharma company. The market for Remdesivir, the black market for Remdesivir is quite active.
Quite what?
And the black market for Remdesivir. I
might already know that. Sorry.
I mean, being a crypto person for the last couple of years, like, I'm directly in 4 different group chats trying to sell quantities of over 1 million N95 masks. Like, I'm personally trying to do this. Because I like money and because money can be converted to more medical hardware. That's great. Like that's, I consider the world to have like 3 things in practice, which is, and so far as like humans can observe for the most part, like it's a faulty system, but it kind of covers most of what we see and do. And I think the world's made up of time, human behavior, and some physical resources. Like you find some, fell some tree, you do some shit to it, you make it into pulp, right? Like you build the machine that does that, but it's all just like some actual physical elements and humans, right, putting time into doing some shit. We've gotten too far. Like, I mean, there's been like the anti-capitalist, like, you guys think about money too much and all this shit, but like now it's the actual time to remember that, because what you need, right, is ventilators working, right? So what you need is time of experts that are hardware engineers, right, who can design the components to be more fixable, right? Like money doesn't come into play when you think like that, if that makes sense. And so I think, your priority isn't to get money, it's to get specialized time, right? And some physical resource, right? That might be, that might be lab equipment, that might be, construction equipment, that might be whatever it is, right? Like, at some point, all of these components from the oxygen concentrators are made of something else, right? Like, not to go too far up this road and disappear off my own ass, but I think there's a very clear mentality here that we can adapt to help each other consistently. And that's what I was saying. I believe America, after fucking up way more than it already has, because this is only the beginning of America's fuck-ups, it's a highly decentralized country. Like people like me who are entrepreneurs, who have ADD, or like I was like, bro, this is the time to drop every project I've had, everything I'm doing, and go work in the respiratory care industry. Just Period. Like
Yeah.
that.
That is
Why would I do
we're
literally
kind of
nothing
weird
else? And,
country
like,
that would have shit like that. Have people
and,
that
and
would,
like, and it takes the kinds of people who have no gods, no masters to sort of, do that, right? Because it's like, what do I have? An apartment? What are you going to do? Tell me I'm bankrupt? Where? America? I'm in New Zealand. What does me being bankrupt in America have to do with my lifestyle now? Fuck yourself. Like, what are you going to do? Take the art that they had on my walls? Like, I grab my computer, my iPad, like my phone, like, a few clothes, and I'm fucking good. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I have the billion, like, I got to make the billionaire decisions, not because I'm rich, but because I'm, like, poor in some ways. Like, at least very, I'm like, what are the billionaires doing? Going to New Zealand? Great. How much is a plane ticket? $450. Done. Like, you know what I mean? What am I going to do? Oh, figure it the fuck out. I can wait tables. I can, you know what I mean? Like, you'll figure it out. Like, you think the Canadian fucking police is out there making sure that, like, immigrants aren't around? Like, no. Like, it's fine. You know what?
Yeah.
So, like, what's really important is to have kind of rallying cries that are consistent for these free agents to rally around, to spend their time, to spend, their resources. And again, I mean, like, physical resources, the objects that they can bring to the table, right? Where does the plastic come from to run into the 3D printers, right? Where are we going to get membranes, actual fans, right? Like, all of these, like, component level needs to create hardware. Because right now, if you have a fucking heart attack in Italy, you're gone. You're gone. There's no doctors. There's no nothing.
Get shot,
right? You have cancer. You're gone. Like, there's no healthcare for anything. It's not just COVID. That's the thing. Like, everyone who died in the last month in Italy pretty much died because of this.
Yeah.
Because they're avoidable deaths. And that's what nobody fucking understands. It's like, you're getting the figures wrong. Like, you're not like, nobody is reporting on the secondary deaths yet.
Yeah.
Even in Italy, there's no reporting on numbers. Like, I want to see how many people died from this thing. I want to see how many people fucking died of heart attacks that could have been prevented. What's the normal rate of dying of a heart attack? Let's say it's 50%. Now it's fucking 90%. So tell me, out of 100 people, add those other 40, because they have been killed by this, right? That's the type of thing that America is going to notice, and Americans are going to notice, and they're going to be like, what the fuck did they do for you at the hospital? I can figure that out, right? It's that mentality. Because in Italy and France and Spain and England, in Russia and China and Korea, doctors are like gods. Like, there's this sense of they know what they're doing and you don't. My dad's an extremely gifted electrical engineer, and, like, if I were to hand him a piece of medical equipment, even if he knows how to design electrical equipment, he'd be like, ooh, this says medical.
Yeah.
That's my specialty. It's like, it's almost like this, bullshit marketing magical terms, right? But Americans don't give a fuck. They'll be like, what do I need? Oxygen? I need this Remdesivir shit? Masks? Whatever the fuck. I'll buy
just
it on
to be
the black
clear,
market.
when you mentioned your dad, you have a foreign dad, right? That's why you're using him as an example?
No, I mean, like, he grew up in Romania. Yeah.
Right.
He grew up
so
in Romania.
And that's why he doesn't have...
Yeah, my parents grew up in a communist country. I was born in a communist country. So, like, that...
Yep.
There's that whole, like I understand from them, like, more the culture of places like China and Russia. And, like, obviously I don't have a lot of that culture myself, but, it kind of makes some amount of sense. And there's that sense of, like, people become experts at the things they do, but you don't really wander out too much around that. It's, he's extraordinarily gifted hardware engineer, and that's what he is. And like, to himself as well in a lot of ways. And, like, what is important is to, bring those skills to bear to, like, redesigning an oxygen concentrator or a ventilator. And you know what I mean? Like, how do we transmit data, right? Like, one of the things we're working on with AO Air is actually building software around the respirator mask. So we have these respirator masks that use positive pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no seal, right? The air that's around your face is always fresh air that is, well, it's filtered air that is not the air from outside. So that means that you can actually put a straw through there, you can drink, blah blah blah.
Yep.
And
the filter would be pushing a lot more air through it, right? Than you'd need.
Yeah. It's about 150 liters a minute, something like that.
Yep.
So, like, really, it's all the air you would need to breathe. You can run with the thing and, like, feel perfectly oxygenated and fine. But one of the other things it does is it's able to measure your breath.
Oh.
So we're going to need a hell of a lot more diagnostic equipment go around. Like the insights like that are like, hey, I want to be able to detect shortness of breath like that. I want to be able to tell shortness of breath in an individual that smokes, because that individual will not be able to tell.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it totally does, because they're already compromised. They've dealt with a compromised lung for a while, and so they don't realize the signs.
And that individual needs oxygen therapy stat, right? That's the thing that's going to save its life.
You could get a camo.
If him or her end up in complications, and they weigh 270 pounds, and they've been smoking for 10 years, they might as well be dead. And you're seeing that in Seattle right now. Like none of those people that are overweight, like I don't think there's a lot of 300-pound people that are getting their lives saved. Like I don't think the doctors give a fuck. Like when the resources start becoming scarce, like the first thing that happens is cutoff ages, and the second thing that happens is cutoff weights. Like those are very, very easy.
It's based on
because the mortality rate is going to be so high that it makes no sense.
The likelihood of their survival, right, is the primary. So it would go age, then comorbidity, or maybe comorbidity, then age. I don't know. But then they also, I've heard that some Italian doctors will actively check the family status of people, not because they're like, oh, if you have a family, you're more important, but because you're more likely to survive post-hospital. They need to be able to get you out of the hospital after you don't need hospital care anymore. And if you can't be taken care of, then it means that hospital bed's going to get used for longer. And so this is a pulse oximeter. I don't remember if you recommended this, or I think it was actually the fellow that there's that British guy who's been doing so many amazing videos on this, where he just he's like a nurse, but also he's been nurse practitioner. I don't know, but then also a PhD. And so it's an interesting mix of, so he's like actively dealing with individual patients, or has had to, and then I think he must have had some experience with this sort of crisis type stuff, maybe in parts of the world that we normally think of as getting diseases, and now it's happening everywhere. We're so interconnected. But this pulse oximeter, would you recommend this for someone to get as a? So
I think so. I think it's important to kind of measure yourself, and that it's cheap, right? So like anything that's cheap like that, like the UV lights that kill viruses, that's great. Like I was watching a video today about how to fucking shove a hairdryer into your face because heat kills the virus. It's like, that's stupid.
Yeah, that's retarded.
Don't do that.
Holy shit.
And the same video was like, you should go to saunas. And it's like, you should go to saunas, a place where everyone sweats.
Oh, God.
Because it'll kill the virus. Like
Joe Rogan said that.
The virus, but like, you're sitting in a puddle of someone else's sweat. Like, that's not a good idea just on the face of it, right? Like there's
without
so I like stuff like metrics are super important. If you're going to have like a pulse oximeter, if you're going to have like just your little stupid Apple Watch that gets you, that gets your EKG, right? Your electrocardiogram, like that's important to check regularly. Because you might be able to do some things, right? Like breathing exercises are super key. Like actually pay attention to your breath. Like all the stupid yoga stuff that like white girls with dreadlocks that eat granola have been doing for 30 years is all of a sudden actually potentially life-saving. I've been doing that every day just to be like, okay, I can still take a full deep breath, right? Can I still hold it? Are my lungs, itchy? And like, just even doing that, you get more oxygen to your system. It is helping you fight off the disease in the very early cases. And I mean, I'm saying that, I shouldn't say is, I should say it might, it very well might. I haven't seen a lot of papers around this, but I'm like, those are the kinds of things that you want to be able to do, measure and respond. So that you're not going to the hospital when you're healthy, because the hospital is the most dangerous place. That's where all the sick people are. That's where you're going to get the most infected. Again, this is most dangerous for healthcare workers. Those are the people who are going to die young. Those are the people who are going to get permanent lung damage and be sent home forever, and then just be out of the system. So, don't go to the hospital unless you have a very credible suspicion. I think, using tools like telemedicine, talk to a doctor remotely, if you have a friend or anyone.
That's what
like
Israel's doing. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what America is doing now. They have passed reimbursement for telemedicine, and they have realized that those lines outside the doctor's office are actually a part of the problem. They're actively helping spread this.
Yep. I don't remember who recommended that to one of my family members, but I think it was one of the medical people recommended it. One of the family members who was medical told everyone else, don't go to the hospital if you have this. Call ahead, ask them what to do. There might be a home test available. Bill Gates.
Yeah, so in Canada, for example, if you suspect you have COVID-19, you call ahead. You have to call ahead. They will not admit you anywhere else. So you call ahead. There's a special line. You show up in your car. Like, there's somebody with protection that brings you to the COVID-19 area, and you stay the fuck there, so that you're not just accidentally killing people with heart attacks.
Yeah. God, this is so horrifying. All right, I'm going to play that video from Iran. It's like a minute long, just to show like what's going on in an Iranian mall. Or did you want to pause it? You can pause it. This is someone collapsed. This was more than a week ago. I got this video.
Yep.
So that's the dude just lying on the floor. I mean, Iran has fucked this up so badly.
Yeah, I don't trust the numbers coming out of Iran at all.
I know.
It does not match the rest of the world even a little. Like, Iran is doing 10 times better than fucking Italy? Really? Come on.
Have they actually not been able to get sanctions relief and not been able to get?
Of course not. Of course not. That's no. So my respirator. Like, we've had orders, potential orders from my respirator company out of fucking New Zealand, and we can't work with them.
I mean, but that's like that's bio warfare, and like
no, it's not. No, it's not.
With Iran to actually
sanctions, dude, is the same as North Korea. Like, no, this isn't. Are you gonna like fucking Iran right now isn't exactly
in the middle of a
pandemic?
pandemic? You're not
gonna
get
rid of the sanctions either. They're saying that this is a bioweapon created by the Americans to kill their government. That it's a plot by the Jews. Like, if you're gonna like lift sanctions, the one thing you can do is say, hey, let's play nice with everyone, and like, actually extend a hand out to the world and say, hey, let's all fucking sing kumbaya. But no,
in the
middle
that's not
what's happening at all.
In the middle of a pandemic, dude. I feel like you have to. I mean, the people are not the government. I
agree. Definitely
in the middle of at some point, enough of them are dying where we have to say we can't keep not allowing them to get the equipment that they need to save their people. Like, the point of sanction is to get the job done while killing as few people as possible.
Iran does not have sanctions against. China does not have sanctions against Iran. There's a hell of a lot of countries. Russia doesn't have sanctions against Iran. It's not like America.
Interesting how
Iran, but America
relationship with Israel is the common denominator.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I talked over you there at the end. Go ahead. What was the last bit?
I was just saying that America isn't going to be super helpful right now. Like America isn't the one that's like exporting medical equipment to the rest of the world. Like, maybe a little bit, but it's not making a huge difference. Like where Iran would be buying medical equipment from is China, and China has stopped exporting a lot of medical equipment.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's really their main concern, and I think and I think that's a reasonable concern to have. But it's not the same concern as, America is overcharging them for stuff. Also, the oil prices have completely plummeted, sending the economy of Iran in a free fall. Like,
they dropped to $30.
Yeah, from 90.
Just,
So, Mihai, this graph is daily confirmed cases for China, I think. Let me see. Is this daily? Global. This is global cases. Okay. But these numbers from back in early February were all China, basically. And I see daily cases. If you follow this graph, it goes hump and then down. And then there's this huge spike on February 13th. And that's China's reported cases in a day.
Yes.
And if you follow it
testing
like an exponential, it just goes up. If you just go a
Right.
curve, then it's doing that. And it looks like they were probably thinking right around this time. They were like, oh, we can get a handle on this maybe if we lock everything down. And then they realized that enough stuff was coming out that they were going to have to report semi-accurate numbers at least once.
That's right.
And so they stopped lying, which is what they were doing here clearly. And then in one day, they increased by, God, 15,000 cases in a day. That's what it looks like to me. And
I think that's accurate. And the other thing is the widespread availability of testing. I think you're right about them lying to a certain extent there, but I also don't think that they knew internally what was happening until testing became widely available. I think Korea is the model country here because they very much focused on testing from day one. They focused on isolation from day one. They were comfortable shutting down their entire motherfucking economy from day one. Nobody in Korea was saying, hey, the Korean economy is down by 40%. Oh, no. That's not the goddamn coverage on the news in Korea. The people I talked to in Korea were talking about the fucking dead and the people who were sick.
Yeah.
Not the people who were, So, and you have, 1% there. Huh.
Oh, wow. This is really reassuring. Their case count has completely tapered off as of March. Basically they must have implemented, this was their inflection point, and then they probably started to implement stuff around late February, like big shutdowns. I mean,
big shutdowns.
They were
probably around mid-February. They started around mid-February as the thing was exploding, and it was just like there's a lag time to shutting things down. You can't just tell everyone, hey, shut down. Even in a country that's as, let's say, compliant with authority as Korea and China, like people have feelings, right? You heard that guy, like they're not fucking robots. Like, and I think it's very easy for us in the Western world to kind of lose ourselves in those preconceptions of those societies. I mean, they're somewhat correct that, as somebody who has lived in Korea, they're a hell of a lot more organized than Americans. And you go on the train, the subway cars are unbelievably clean. People aren't touching each other. They're wearing masks most of the time to begin with, right? So that helped a lot. A lot of the rest of the world just doesn't have that culture of wearing respirators, of, wearing masks at all.
Right.
So, I see that a lot of Americans are going to fucking die for fashion reasons. And that's the stupidest thing. Right? There's not even a goddamn good reason for not to wear the mask. You're just like, I don't think it looks good. Like, word, and just go kill grandpa.
I gotta find. There's some meme with, it was like the virgin. It was like the virgin can't wear a mask because social pressure, and then the Chad gas mask. Fucking. Oh, I gotta find this. One sec.
Yeah, and it was like a really nice gas mask.
Yes, yeah.
Like matching colors.
Pull up AO Air. Just look up Atmos. ATMOS. That's the mask that I'm working for now.
Here, actually,
just the word. There's the letters AO.
ATMOS.
Yeah, Atmos and AO Air.
Oh, Atmos Air.
Atmos mask.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, it's just gonna get the Amazon.
Yeah, that's not it.
That's not it. Okay, sorry.
AO Air. Just
just so you know, if you go up to the top,
there you go.
That's green bar on your. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, you're on a phone.
No. It's Atmos AO Air. So there's a space. Atmos space AO space Air.
Oh, I gotcha.
The name of the company is AO Air. Their first product was called Atmos.
Atmos AO Air.
That's it. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yep. See, and these are designed to fight pollution, and diesel particles are just absolutely tiny.
Whoa. And this is, okay, this is the positive pressure. They blow.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So you have a little guy on the side of your face that's kind of filtering the air and pushing it through. The filter itself has fibers that are 3,000 times thinner than a human hair. So those are real nanoparticles, and this is probably the most advanced thing in the world right now. And you see there's these little guys that you put on top of your nose, so it actually senses when you're breathing in and out. It provides air as you're using it.
I gotcha. Wow. Is there some video you want me to play, or is it?
No, that's. I guess there's photos and videos. Yeah. Yeah, they did New York Fashion Week.
They had a fashion thing. That's great.
No, they did New York Fashion Week and Seoul Fashion Week, of course.
When?
But yeah, see, this looks like something out of some fashionista Burning Man, or like some cyberpunk dystopian future. But we are in a cyberpunk dystopian future. Like finally the Blade Runner universe is coming true.
That's very, very obvious at this point. I heard one of my friends is reading a lot of William Gibson's novels. And apparently a lot of the things he's describing are just really, really on point. Like,
yeah.
How much do one of these cost?
$340.
Wow, that's
not bad.
That's pretty reasonable for something that does all that.
Something that does that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some consumables to it, but not that many. And basically, the idea is that you wear this thing every day. And right now, at the prices that people are selling, N95 masks, if you're going to wear one every day, they're going to end up being more expensive, especially after a whole year.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't have a factory, so we're they're finishing up some of the redesigns and like starting to really build them. So it's a pretty delicate time, but obviously we're getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But yeah. Listen, gentlemen, I'm gonna have to go.
All right. Thank you, Mihai.
So much for taking the time to host me here. This has been an absolutely amazing experience. Thank you, Edwin, for your insights from Liberia. Thank you, Paul, for putting this all together.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for your insight. I really hope that it ends up saving some people.
Yep.
Well, certainly hope so as well. And remember, there's no such thing as saving lives. There's only prolonging them.
That's true.
That's true. All ended up in the same place.
Okay.
Have a good one. Bye.
See ya.
All right. That was oh my God.
Do you want me to end it now or keep discussing?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll keep it recording.
Let's just end it. Let's just
end it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not gonna,
All right.